Hello and welcome to Workhorse Wrestling Network. You are gathered with us tonight for the most chaotic wrestling review show in the multiverse. This is All for Naught.
N oh N
Sorry, I
A
forgot. It's been too long. WT.
NawT. All right.
I
So
just
we
rolled
officially
through
fucked that one up. All right.
Well, we haven't done it for a few weeks, so.
That is correct. We are back for a special live edition of All for Naught. We are going to review Monday Night Raw from 2 nights ago, or 3 nights ago now, I guess, because it's Thursday, and NXT from 2 nights ago, and preview Battleground this Sunday. NXT Battleground. So I guess let's start it off with a Raw from Monday night. It was the 3rd of June. And the show, let's see here. We started off. Got it in my notes. Sorry, hold on for just one sec. What happened here? Oh, there we go. So we got a opening package, a video package, blah, blah, blah. Liv Morgan made her way out to the ring for an opening segment, and then Dominic came out. Liv came out, danced around a little bit, taunted Rhea, told her she was going to take everything from her, including Dominic Mysterio. I'm not going to lie. She's all right in this role. I thought this was pretty good. I mean, she's fairly decent at being seductive, I guess, and sultry to a certain extent, and I mean, I wouldn't mind being Dominic backed into the corner. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna say it. This might be some of the best work she's ever done.
Yeah, no, it's some of the better character work she's done for sure. So Liv backed Dominic into the corner, was rubbing all on him, and out came Finn Balor to play Captain Sava Ho, I guess, if you want to call Dominic a hoe.
Stop twirling his hair. Back away. Back away.
Back away. Back away. And eventually, let's see. I'm trying to think what else. We were just the three of them. Eventually, Liv gets out, walks away. Dominic and them are left kind of in the ring. And then I think we go to commercial, if I'm not mistaken. Then they, after the ring's cleared out, I think we come back and it's Sheamus in the ring for his match against Ludwig Kaiser. This match kind of surprised me. I'm not going to lie, because I didn't think they were going to ever have a day where Ludwig Kaiser would defeat Triple Crown winner Sheamus, former world champion, Triple Crown winner Sheamus. I mean, this dude's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Kaiser's a mid-card guy at best. So,
I mean, first ballot?
You don't think so?
He could be, but like, there's a lot of names that I'd put above him for first ballot. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a comparison, right?
Definitely Hall of Famer. Definitely Hall of Famer.
I mean, I guess it depends on what year he's, the first chance he's able to go in, we'll have to see. But I would imagine, I mean, he's going in pretty quickly. I mean, I'm sorry, did I say Triple Crown? I meant to say Grand Slam winner. Did I say Grand Slam?
No, he's not Grand Slam.
I thought he was.
He has never won the IC title.
Oh, I thought he just was. I thought he just had something where he won. Was the Triple Crown?
He faced Gunther, and Gunther beat him.
Okay.
But if he beats Sami Zayn for the title, he becomes a Grand Slam champion.
Let's see. I thought Kaiser looked okay in this match. I mean, they did a good job. Sheamus did a good job of selling and making Kaiser look good. I'm not sure totally why he got the win, but I guess it's good for Kaiser. And I guess Imperium ultimately, it's good for them. I mean, which maybe does something for Gunther. I don't know. Let's see. Then we had Dragon Lee versus Finn Balor, which was fun until it devolved into Carlito and JD McDonough coming down and basically messing it all up. Finn Balor did ultimately get the win.
But
I mean, Dragon Lee's an amazing wrestler, so is Finn Balor, and I'd rather see these guys just wrestle a match and not have to deal with the interference and the other stuff. But it also, this is what Judgment Day does. I mean, this is, so it's right up their alley, and this is, I guess, what they should be doing. So, and they got Balor to win. So,
like, while this match was going, it kind of made me think, man, there's very quality wrestlers in WWE, and it feels like we're finally getting a chance to see them get to actually do their stuff on weekly television, not just pay-per-views. But, then the finish happened, and I was like, oh, you couldn't just leave well enough alone, could you?
right. Let's see. Judgment Day permeated this whole show. They were all over it. Lots of promo segments, or lots of backstage segments with them. Lots of interactions with other people. Priest. Good.
So Seth is out.
Seth is out.
CM Punk is out.
CM Punk is out.
Drew has his feud with Damian.
Correct.
The women's champion is involved with Dominic.
Correct.
Everything is permeating around Judgment Day because, anybody else who could be headlining stories out, and the other people are involved in the Judgment Day story. So even the tag champions aren't free from it. R-Truth.
Right. No, I think this is ultimately what they envisioned too, right? I mean, for the Judgment Day, they want them to be, equal to the Bloodline as far as the big faction in WWE. So that does that. The more you see them, the more they have pull on TV and all that stuff. So me personally, I guess I like the Judgment Day better than the Bloodline. I mean, the problem is it all revolves around Roman for me. I don't like Roman, but I've always liked the other people involved in the Bloodline story. So if you eliminate Roman, which is a huge cog, which is not really fair to do, I love the Bloodline, but you can't really do that. So I guess I like the Judgment Day more ultimately. But yeah, I mean, they're like the second biggest faction. So I mean, they want them to be everywhere.
Since Roman's no longer champion, I will sing his praises. I wasn't happy of having a part-time champion, of him, hardly ever being there. But now that he's no longer champion, Roman Reigns is great. He's good on the mic. His matches do well. Is he the best wrestler? No. Is he the best promo? No. But he's better than most. I enjoy him.
Yeah.
I'm happy he's not champion.
I would definitely agree with that. We then had a segment of Alpha Academy with Sami Zayn, where they're going. I mean, Chad Gable and Sami Zayn, that's the feud at the moment, obviously. Sami, has a issue with Chad being a thorn in his side.
Literally, this is the only story that's not involving the Judgment Day, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's correct. Trying to think, is that right? What other storylines are there? Yeah. For the most part, yeah, absolutely. But yes. I think that's fair to say. And, this, even though I like Sami Zayn and I love Chad Gable, with all due respect, it doesn't feel necessarily like a main event top tier feud. It should, because I think both those guys should be at that level, but because they haven't really been booked there in the past, it still doesn't quite feel like that. So
is this going to be for Clash at the Castle?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, that's what it looks like.
That's a bit of a surprise to me that Sami's going to be working 3 pay-per-views back to back to back. Because, let's be real. If you are not putting Sami Zayn at Money in the Bank, in some sort of match, you are making a mistake. You're going to be in Canada.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see Sami Zayn there.
Mm.
If he's not there, y'all screwed up. Like if
Agreed.
there was any pay-per-view you could have Sami Zayn skip, it would be Clash.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, it'll be interesting to see, if having to defend the title essentially at 3 pay-per-views, if that doesn't result in a loss of the title at some point. Um,
If you're gonna do it at SummerSlam. Don't do it before then.
yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, if it's going to be Chad Gable, I don't think they can wait until SummerSlam. But if it's somebody else, then they need to, get that. Then they have time to get that storyline going and build it up, right? I mean, because they don't have anybody else at the moment. I mean, this is all they're doing is Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. So,
Oh,
I mean, SummerSlam's not that far off. It's only what 2 months away, but still, I mean, another 2 months of just seeing this kind of go around in a circle is kind of I don't know.
I mean, because like
I'm not sure that's great for Sammy's reign. I mean, he doesn't want to be in the Alpha Vortex. I mean, I guess he can face Tozawa, he can face Otis, he can fucking over the next whatever, but like that's not exciting at all. So
I'm really wondering what you do here. I'm like, because if he loses here, then what's the plan for Money in the Bank?
that's a really good question.
And like, it's leading to Chad Gable versus Otis eventually.
Right.
And like, I'm assuming you'd want Chad Gable to be the champ then. Like, do you like have them feud and just hold off on giving Chad the title until SummerSlam? Because like that's I mean it's long term storytelling, but like we also don't want to see Chad lose pay per view after pay per view after pay per view, and then finally win, and then probably lose
Right.
at the next pay per view.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to see them wrestle for, in 3 or 4 pay-per-views in a row. That's for sure. And I don't need to see Sammy wrestle everyone in Alpha Academy. On Monday night, for the next 8 weeks in some amalgamation of tag team singles, all that stuff that I don't really need. So, yeah, I mean, I don't totally know. I mean, for it seems like a long time off if you're going to put it on Chad Gable. Man, I love Chad Gable, but when you say to me, Chad Gable versus Otis and Chad should have the title, and I think to myself, we just had Gunther with that same belt. It feels like a big step down. Um,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
it just does. I mean, even Sammy and Chad feels slightly like a step down, but Chad and Otis feels like a big step down. Especially if there's any chance that Otis can win or does win. Like, I mean, if Otis wins that belt, it almost takes, unfortunately, no disrespect to Otis, but it almost takes away all the good work that Gunther did with the belt to a certain extent. I mean,
I do agree with you. I have to look out at it from outside my own perspective because like although I'm not an Otis fan, like the audience in the crowd, they're eating it up. They love Otis. They're cheering for him. Like
yeah,
if the fans want it, like you give the fans what they want. But like, yeah, I'd second guess that. Like if I was the booker, I'd be like, y'all really want this? Y'all
yeah,
sure? You really want this?
yeah. Um, moving on, we then had Ricochet injured trying to in a match against Braun Breaker. This is an ongoing little feud here. This is really, I guess, Braun's first feud basically on the main roster. Um, and Braun got the win here with the Frankensteiner. Um, or no, I'm sorry. He hit a Frankensteiner and then got the spear for the win. Um, and it was a pretty looking spear. Breaker does a nice spear. I like this Braun Breaker. I like the way they've presented him. My only concern, I don't want to see him get too Goldbergy. It can't be where he's too too tough to beat, where he just goes on this, he doesn't need to go on an unbeaten streak, in my opinion. He could take a loss or two and still be fine, especially to someone like a Ricochet or to someone that's already been on the main roster established, maybe it's an X title holder or something. But yeah, I don't need to see, 50-0 Braun Breaker on, unbeatable run, because I just don't, I don't like that. But um,
Do
at the
you think
moment,
that
I
they
like the
might
way.
make Money in the Bank an 8-man ladder match?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
No, 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 no. I'm asking you
Oh, would
because
they?
Jey Uso's in it. Like, if they make it an 8-man, I could definitely see a Braun Breaker, a Ricochet, and an Ilya Dragunov being the other participants for Raw. But like,
Yeah, eight
Jey
people's a
Uso's in
lot.
it, so like, who do you choose to be the other two?
Yeah, I don't know. Eight people's a lot. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'd be surprised if we get that many, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to ultimately see what they do. Well, what do you think of this in general, though? You like Braun here? You like this match, or
Oh
do you
yeah,
think?
he has an intensity about him. The fans certainly like him. He's very athletic. He's good on the mic. Like, he is a total package sort of wrestler. Like, he's young and inexperienced, but like, experience comes with time. So everything's going in his favor.
Yeah,
He's
I
definitely
don't.
somebody who I'd draft if I was making a roster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he'd go. I mean, I don't know that he's first round for me, but he's definitely second or third round, depending on how many rounds there are. Talent. I mean, for sure at this point. I mean, I think
Uh,
his upside is very high. Let's put it that way. I mean, it's got a lot of potential. I here WWE, lean into it or don't. Either let him be a fucking Steiner or shut the fuck up. Don't call him Braun Breaker and then say he looks like a dog-faced gremlin. Stupid. Either call him Steiner and make it what it is, or stop being fucking stupid and making little inside jokes like whatever. Come on, like really? That irritated the hell out of me. So honestly, um, just make him fucking Braun Steiner or
it's a
something.
joke that doesn't work because the people who don't get it, and the people who get it get pissed off because of it.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's not funny. I mean, so whatever. I don't remember the actual. I'm trying to remember now if it came before or after. But R-Truth giving Carlito advice about Judgment Day, hysterical. R-Truth, as always, in a great segment. And then Miz coming out being offended by the fact that R-Truth said that his time with Judgment Day was the best time of his life. Miz was like, "Tag team champions. This should be the best time of your life." The three of these guys are good together. Carlito's probably got the least amount of personality, but he still has a lot of personality and does well in these segments. And R-Truth, we agreed, is great, and The Miz is great. So this is where they're both in their bag, Miz and R-Truth, right? So,
I didn't even think of it, but yeah, like Miz and R-Truth have so much personality.
oh yeah,
Like, the only difference is that R-Truth has the personality that makes me laugh and I love, and Miz has the personality that irks me and makes me want him to lose.
uh, let's see. Then we had a little pre-match interview with I'm sorry, with Kiana James, which okay. I'm getting ready for the
Ooh. All right. Well, hopefully he'll be back. I'll carry on talking about Kiana James in the meantime. So, personally, not a fan, wasn't a fan in NXT, and like, the promos, like, honestly suck. Like, I remember the other week she used a word, and it's like, I don't know if that was your word of the day in some booklet or something, but like, you completely butchered the definition of that word. That word did not work in that sentence, and I was just like, ugh. And it has not gotten better. Like, I was very surprised when she got drafted, especially getting drafted before other people. Uh, I guess WWE really believes in her, but like, I guess I'll take a wait and see approach. But from what I've seen so far, like, I don't know what I'm waiting for, you know? Like, hopefully she gets better. Hopefully she gets better, but like, I'm not going to hold my breath on it.
Who are we talking about?
I was talking about Kiana James.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my computer decided to just shut down.
I
Thanks for
gave
holding
you
down the
like
phone.
5 seconds in case like it just froze for a second, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take them off and continue on and talk about Kiana
No,
James.
I was talking, and then all of a sudden it just went black, and I was like, "Okay." Headset said disconnected, and everything went black. Sweet. All right. Luckily, it
I'll
doesn't take too long to boot back up. But
give you a quick rundown on what I said. I said about her promo the other week where she used a word that was not the definition that made sense in the sentence that she was using it in. Uh, adjudicate. Like,
adjudicate.
if that was in your word of the day booklet, she butchered it because
You butchered it.
that the sentence you used it in, that the definition of that word does not fit. It does not fit.
It's funny. I didn't even catch that before.
Uh, man, like, I'm waiting for her to do something good, and she hasn't. She got drafted to the main roster. I think she wasn't ready for it. She got drafted before people who I feel like deserves to be drafted, and like, how is she on the main roster and Tony D isn't? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it boggles my mind. Like, the people in the back must see something in her, but I'm waiting and seeing, and what I see, I shouldn't be waiting for.
Yeah. I mean, she got the win here over Natty. I don't. She faked an injury, so the ref would help her, right? And then and ultimately use that to help get the win. Um, I, you know,
This was the bathroom break of the show.
no doubt. And I said this the other day on, I don't remember, on some other podcast. I don't remember what it was. Not one of ours, but in the chat somewhere. Natalia to me is very strange because they talk about her like she's a legend. They present her and call her the boat and all, but they've always booked her like a mid card person and often as a jobber. I mean, she's basically taking a loss to Kiana James. If you're one of the best women's wrestlers of all time and a living legend, you should never take a loss to Kiana James ever, ever. So it's
I
like,
mean,
well, what are
it's
we
been
doing?
her
Like,
role. Like, anytime a new girl comes up from NXT,
right?
she has to job out to them. They even send her
Which
to NXT to job out there too.
Yeah, it's weird. Then that's fine, but don't try to then turn around and tell us she's one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. Like you can't be both. You can't be a jobber and one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. Like it doesn't work like that.
Like,
It just doesn't.
I struggle to think of who she beat in her last match. I remember
um,
her losses more than I ever remember her wins.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and I think that this match, I thought Natty looked better in this match than Kiana did, and Kiana got the win. So it is what it is, I guess. Let's see. Moving along, we got Braun Strowman versus Carlito. Um, Strowman beat Carlito. I mean, like you said, everything right now is revolving around the Judgment Day, including Braun Strowman. Um, this is what it is. I mean, I don't, okay. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of comments.
I
I
thought
like.
that Strowman was going to be doing stuff with Diamond Mine, and now instead of working with Diamond Mine, he's fighting against the enemy of the LWO.
Quite often be it WWE, be it AEW, be it TNA. I'm often disappointed with the booking of baby faces. I'm often disappointed with the choosing of who's going to be a baby face and when they're going to be a baby face. And I'll never understand the booking of a person like Braun Strowman as a face or basically never makes sense to me. That dude is only works as a heel, in my opinion. It just is. I mean, you can't be when you're the good monster. Like really, like that doesn't fucking work. It just doesn't. I mean,
Um,
I'm
I
sorry.
I think it works absolutely fine. It's just how you have to play it off. So like being short tempered. So when angry, makes foolish actions and can end up causing troubles and hurting himself by accident due to his own anger. Like there's ways you can work with that. Like he wants to be good and just he can't deal with everybody's BS. Like there's certain ways you can do it.
I guess maybe it's just he can't do it. But like, I honestly, I'm trying to think in my head of a time that we've ever had what I would call a real successful baby face giant. I mean, the only one I could think of that's even kind of semi pulled it off at times would be Big Show. I mean, otherwise, I can't even. I mean, who else is? Nobody else has pulled off being that kind of a big monster and a baby face.
Well,
A
here's the
couple times
thing
in
is
tech.
that I don't think he works as a heel. I
What do you
like
mean?
he is a giant. Like the only way he works as a heel is like in the same way that Braun Breaker is a heel, and the way that Braun Breaker does it is so much better. Of like going out, destroying people, starting fights that he shouldn't be starting. Like that's literally what they're doing with Braun Breaker is like the only way that Strowman would work as a heel.
It's that
And
hyper
Breaker does,
intense.
yeah, and Breaker does it better. I
Yes, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. That's tough. I mean, I don't.
You don't need
I
two of
feel
the
like
same character on the same roster unless they're a tag team.
well, there's that. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I can definitely see that. For me,
Would you want to
I
see
think
Braun and Braun as a tag team?
that could work. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, they'd be a nasty tag team, that's for sure. I mean, it would definitely be interesting to see who would ultimately beat them if they decided to team up. Um, but for me, I think Braun Strowman has enough ability on the mic. He's not a great talker, but he's good enough that I think that he could get away with being dark and brooding and evil giant, not just enraged, intense giant. I think he could be almost that psycho kind of quiet, kind of semi-quiet,
Uh,
semi-soft spoken,
Wyatt
you
family
know,
Braun,
exactly
but
to a certain extent. Sure.
I don't think he could do it on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd be interested to see. I don't like babyface Braun. I don't. Those guys to me just don't. For me, they don't work as baby faces. But it is what it is. During this match, Dom came out. Obviously, Judgment Day got involved. He went to hit Strowman, or he hit Strowman with the chair, and then Liv came in and saved him from being attacked by Braun. So we get more Liv saving Dom. I mean, you said this is the best work of Liv's. You think this may be the best work of Liv's career so
Mm-hmm.
far in WWE. Does that mean that you're liking the stuff with Dom or just the way she's doing it? Do you like the storyline itself or just she's doing it well? Because those
Uh,
could be two different things.
I think the storyline is okay.
Okay.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. She's doing it well though.
Do you the storyline itself? Dominic seems to be trying as best he can to like, I'm not wanting to. But do you really believe that? Do you think that ultimately he's in cahoots already and we're going to find that out?
I don't think he's in cahoots already.
Okay.
Um, Honestly, it's probably more likely Finn's in cahoots.
Okay.
I said it here first.
Finn is in cahoots. Let's see. Do 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 do.
They have that Bullet Club connection.
Uh,
I'm never
uh,
gonna forget that Liv was an honorary Bullet Club member. Sorry, like
um, we then got Sonia. Sonia, that's not correct. Jade and Bianca versus Shayna, not Sonia. Shayna and Zoe Stark. Um, there wasn't a whole lot to this match because before it really got kicked into gear, um, whatchamacallit came down. The Unholy Union came down and threw a wrench into this match. Ultimately, Bianca and Jade did get the win by DQ. Um, looks like we're going to get a triple threat for the titles at Clash of the Castle, if I had to guess.
um,
Um,
so by them doing a triple threat, it will allow them to take the titles off of Bianca and Jade without Bianca and Jade actually losing.
and you think they're going to do that already?
I could see it. I could see it.
I mean, I always, that's always my contention is when there's a multi-person match for a title, that it's always the opportunity to take the belt off the champion and protect the champion from taking the L. So obviously that plays right into what I think often. Um, I guess I. It seems to me the only reason to take the belts off of them at this point is if you're going to have them feud, and if you're going to have them feud, then does something happen during the triple threat match where one of them fucks up and hits the other or turns on the other? I mean, to me, otherwise, you have more, there's more money, there's more meat on the bone with them having the titles, unless they're going to challenge, unless they're going to have a feud against each other. If they're just going to split up and go separate ways, then I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I guess it ultimately depends on what their separate ways would be, but it seems to me that the only reason in my mind that it makes sense for them to split up, lose the belts if they're going to split up and have the feud. Let's see. Then we
No,
had we had a quick promo by Jay Uso hyping up Money in the Bank, and then we get a tag team
uh,
match. But
I
good.
want to talk about Jey Uso. So,
Yep.
like, solid promo. I thought it was really good. Like, great mic work. The crowd is really behind him, and it's making me second guess my prediction from last year.
Which was
So over a year ago, I said LA Knight is not winning Money in the Bank 2023 because LA Knight is going to win Money in the Bank 2024.
but now
And
you're thinking maybe Dominic. I mean, not Dominic. I apologize. Not Dominic.
Jay,
Jay. I apologize.
I'm second
Jay
guessing
Uso.
myself now. After that promo, I'm like, ooh, they really could give it to Jay. They really could give it to Jay.
If Damian Priest, I mean, Jay works well with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Anyhow, Damian Priest has it. It works even better because he's already got that history there. Um, I, you know, I if here's the question: if Jay wins Money in the Bank, it's only Damian Priest, right? I mean, he's not going after Cody Rhodes, right? I mean, he could, but
Yes,
he's not going to. I
yeah,
mean,
they're boys.
yeah, I mean, but he still has a title. I mean, it's not. I mean, it could be a gentlemanly, hey, you've got a title, I've got a shot, you know, type of situation.
I'm
But to me, it
unsure
only
with LA Knight. With LA Knight winning, like, is LA Knight the type to he'll cash in when somebody least expects it, or is he the type of I'm going to cash this in at SummerSlam? Get ready. I'll see you then.
Yeah, that's a good question. For me personally, I prefer LA Knight as a heel, and I think he's perfect for the
Well,
kind of guy that does it when you least expect it or when you're down and out and beat down. Whereas
especially if
for
you're
me,
taking it off of Cody. Like, if you're
sure,
going to take the title off of Cody, like, I think that instantly makes you a heel.
agreed. I would agree with that. And for me, Jay Uso seems like, especially right now, that it's right for his career and character trajectory at this point to be like, I'm going to defend it at SummerSlam and be straight up about it, or I'm going to defend it,
Oh,
I'm going to catch it in at XYZ and be straight up about it, just because I think that's the role that he's giving off right now.
they'd make it a triple threat.
Yeah, could do that.
Um, I because Gunther has the match, so Jay wins the briefcase. Says I cash this in. I'll see you both at SummerSlam because he's got history with both of them.
Yeah, could definitely see
Gunther
that.
beat him in the King of the Ring tournament. He just faced Damian Priest at Backlash.
Yeah. No, I mean that could work. I mean, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, or I mean, it sounds fine to me. I mean,
Like,
um,
sounds like it could be the main event. Like, I don't know who Cody's going to be facing, but like that triple threat sounds like a main event to me.
yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, I definitely think that triple threat is a main event. I mean, I'd be interested in watching it. I think it makes the match a little more exciting. I do complain a lot of times about multi-man matches, but three people is not bad. A lot of times, three people all is catchable by the cameras for the most part, and most of it takes place in the ring. So I don't have a problem with that. I think it'd be a fun match. I mean,
Mhm.
so after the Jey Uso promo, we got AOP versus New Day in ended up being basically a squash match, honestly, because Kofi got distracted by Karrion Kross. Apparently, I guess Karrion Kross was earlier told Woods that in the show that he didn't have to be following Kofi around much longer. I'm not sure exactly what that totally means, but okay. Um, obviously, AOP is part of Final Testament, so is Cross. Uh, you know, um,
I
I don't ever like seeing the New Day squashed. It's tough when you have one of the greatest tag teams of all time being squashed. But
if this isn't leading to the return of Big E, I
yeah,
don't understand what they're doing.
I would agree with that.
Like, if this is to signify the return of Big E and it leads to this big match at SummerSlam, like, oh, yeah, makes perfect sense. Fantastic. Great booking. Good job, WWE. If it's not the return of Big E, like, what's the plan?
Yeah,
What is Kofi going to, like, join with Final Testament? Because that doesn't make sense to me.
no, that makes no sense ever. And I
And
don't.
I
I mean,
don't think Kofi's planning to retire either, so that doesn't make sense either. Like,
I'm trying to think. I don't. I mean, I can't even think of a heel run for Kofi Kingston, and I don't. I mean, I can't ever. He's not a heel. That's just not who he is. I mean, it just. I mean, I guess we've never seen it, so maybe he could do it. I mean, we won't know until we actually see something try. But like at this point, like I don't see that ever happening. And both him and Xavier Woods are they're too good at being baby faces. I mean, you don't have a lot of people that are great at doing that. You don't have an overwhelming amount of baby faces, and they're really good at it. So I mean, it doesn't it seems like that would be a bad. I don't know. And Kofi joining Final Testament, that sounds like terrible storytelling. I mean, I don't know how you ever get from here to there. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So,
yeah, so like if it's not the return of Big E, I have no idea what they're doing.
I mean, it'd be really, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely the return to Big E would make it make more sense. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Final Testament for me is it misses the boat altogether. I'm not getting it. So, it is what it is. We get a little promo or interview. I'm sorry, a little interview from Unholy Union backstage before the main event of Rey Mysterio versus Damian Priest in this week's main event. There's our banner that tells you what we're talking about. This match had a lot of interference, ultimately, as you can imagine, shenanigans and fallout. But when they were going at it, Priest and Mysterio had pretty good chemistry, I thought. I thought Mysterio, even though I'm not a big fan, he looked like Rey Mysterio, like he always does against big guys. Lots of, high octane, high flying offense. Now, to be fair, doesn't quite look as good as it did 15 or 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. But I will say that he still does look pretty good doing all those flippy moves for a dude that's got to be 50. He's got to be 50. I mean, I'm 47. He's got to be my age. He's got to be between 45 and 55, somewhere right there.
I believe he's 47.
Okay, so we're the same age. Now, to be fair, I'm not, an athlete and whatever, but I don't care who you are, to do that stuff at 47 is pretty impressive. So, I'll give him his credit in that regard. He still looks good. Damian Priest is, champion and probably, for all intents and purposes, even though not age in the prime of his life, probably in the prime of his wrestling career at this moment. So, it was fun. Well, those two happened, and then obviously we get the Judgment Day out at ringside. They distracted Ray, so Damian could hit the South of Heaven for the win, and then Drew came in and attacked Damian, hit a Future Shock DDT, and ultimately picked up the title, and kind of stood over Damian and whatever. So I thought this was good.
So my buddy came over while the match was going, and he knows the video game more than he knows the show.
Uh-huh.
And he made two comments, and they were both about Damian Priest. The first one he said is, I thought he was uglier. And I was, what do you mean? No, that he's Mr. Steal Your Wife. Like, and it's like, I just know from the video game, like, they did a real poor job on making his render on that game, because like he does not look good in the game. And I was like, oh, you're probably right about that. And then the second thing he said, when Drew came out and they were standing face to face, he said, oh, he's taller than I thought he was too. It's like, oh yeah, they're both like 6'6".
Yeah.
Big dudes. Real big dudes.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's it's interesting to watching Damian Priest. You can forget that he's older like that because you haven't seen him forever. And looking at him, he doesn't look 42, 43. I don't know. I'd have to look and see, but
I think
he's in his early. Okay, so he's in his early 40s. So
I believe him and LA Knight are the same age.
Okay. Up close, I think he looks probably a little younger than that. And he moves younger than 41. So, when you're watching him in the ring, you forget. You think, oh, this guy's, 30, 35. So, but, it was fun. I mean, this episode of Raw I thought was solid. I didn't think I thought most of the matches, probably there was too much interference in too many of the matches, for one. And I thought the matches that they had ended probably too fast, most of them. It's weird to say this, but probably Sheamus Kaiser might have been the best match of the night, as far as the actual matches go, because it was one of the few that ended up making it through. It actually had some time. What do you think overall of this show?
I was about to say that I would have probably said that Balor and Lee was the best match if it wasn't for the finish.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And also Breaker and Ricochet, like that was a lot of fun. Like there was solid wrestling on this show and some really bad matches too combined. So
I did still feel like even the solid wrestling, they didn't, like I said, it didn't quite get a chance to breathe as well as it should have. But I mean, I thought this was a middle of the pack episode. I'd call this like a C plus, maybe a B minus. I
the,
mean, maybe a
the
B minus. I don't know.
the promos were also really solid. Like, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna say. Like, I would have given it above middle of the pack, but with Kiana James, I'm gonna go middle.
Yeah, and honestly, even though
If you replace the Kiana James and Talia match with something else, I,
I
I'd give it a thumbs up.
I like Liv Morgan's work this time. I think she's doing a good job. We just talked about it. You mentioned the best work of her career, maybe. I think I'm leaning towards that. I'm still not big on the whole, love storylines in wrestling. I don't necessarily care for the angst and all that stuff. And her, I mean, even though she's attractive and she's doing a good job of being fairly seductive and sultry and that kind of stuff, I just don't necessarily need it. It doesn't necessarily move the needle. The whole idea of her and Dom getting together, or this love triangle with her and Dom and Rhea, I just don't care. Like,
Uh,
it doesn't.
it blows up social media. The teams like it. Like,
Yeah, no doubt.
it, is it exactly my cup of tea? No, but like
Right.
it's doing good business, so I'm not going to hate it. Like, I said that the storyline's okay. It's fine. It's not great, and I don't hate it, but also like they're doing good work in it. So like, could the storyline be better? Yes, but they're doing good with what they got, with what they're
Sure.
given.
Yeah. We will have one more Raw next week before Clash of the Castle.
Oh, it's already
So
Clash time. Shit.
and yeah, next weekend. This weekend is NXT Battleground. We're about to switch gears and to discuss NXT from 2 nights ago, the go home show for Battleground coming up this Sunday, the
I
9th.
I honestly thought there was another week before Clash.
That's the 15th. So yeah.
Dang.
I think it's on Saturday night. Is this 15th to Saturday? Let's see here. Yeah, it's on Saturday the 15th of June. So
I mean,
right
when you look at the
around the
calendar,
corner.
like you get like 5 WWE pay-per-views for every 3 AEW ones, and AEW's giving us more pay-per-views than you like. You've been
Yeah.
complaining about the number of AEW pay-per-views, and
I mean, I complain about the number of WWE pay-per-views. I mean, I've had an issue with that for a long time. I
it's
mean,
just hitting us left and right. Just
yeah. Yep. Yep.
WrestleMania, Backlash, Clash at the Castle, Saudi Show, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam,
Yeah.
Bash in Berlin, and then AEW we got Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, All Out, All In.
All in. Yeah. All out. All in. Yep.
So those are the three we got during that time frame.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a lot, and I feel like when I'm trying to remember, there was a period of time. Now, obviously, there had to be because they came along in separate intervals, but there was a period of time where there was the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Those were the big four for WWE. And then they expanded that out and they started bringing more and more on. And when they were the only game in town for the bulk of the time, it was one thing. But when you have other promos, i.e., WCW when they were around, now AEW, or even TNA along the road when they've been able to pull people in enough to make a dent, um, it once a month is too much. When they had four, I feel like they felt much more special. It felt like a big spectacle. That's where you had the biggest matches. And don't get me wrong, I used to, as a fan, it used to drive me nuts, especially as a kid, because my parents were cheap and didn't want to pay for the pay-per-views. So it was frustrating to only get the good matches on pay-per-view. I remember that. I remember thinking, holy shit, the first few times we got really good matches on TV. Wow, we're getting this on TV for free. Holy shit. But then it ultimately does take away from those pay-per-views when you've seen those people wrestled 3-4 times already going into WrestleMania, or 2-3 times going into SummerSlam, or they've been whatever. It takes away from it. You've already had them wrestle each other in big matches on big shows, and it feels like it takes away from me when there's something every month, especially because storylines need to go longer than a month. So by default, to have a decent storyline, it should be, 3 to 6 months, somewhere in that sweet spot, which if you're doing a pay-per-view and those are people that you're using on a regular basis, you can't help but have the same stuff going on for 3 pay-per-views because it's too much. There's not enough time. So I don't know. It's
In theory, I understand what you're saying, but also like watching the AEW pay-per-views, I'm like every match is good. Like if you ask me to take a match off of the pay-per-view, I struggle to think of one that you could even take off of the card.
yeah.
And so it's hard for me to judge because like the pay-per-views, like we've had what, like 1, 2 bad AEW pay-per-views, and all the rest have been absolute bangers.
Yeah, I mean, so AEW is having a ratings issue at the moment. Um,
Which
and
no
and I
fault
don't
of their own, to what I can tell. Like
I mean, I
the
don't
product seems
understand.
really good.
Yeah, I don't understand necessarily why. I get all the criticism about Tony Khan and some of the booking. There's definitely some issues with the booking and stuff. But, you know, I start to wonder if it's overstimulation almost. I mean,
Hold,
having
hold, hold on, hold
too
on.
many.
They stopped watching AEW because they don't like Tony Khan. But nobody did that shit for WWE with all the shit that Vince was doing for all those years. Like,
Especially when you consider the two. I mean, why don't you like Tony Khan compared to why you don't like Vince McMahon? I mean, Tony Khan might not be the greatest guy in the world. He's not Vince McMahon. At least we don't. At least not that we know of yet. I mean, So for all intents and purposes, Vince McMahon might be one of the worst people ever, on the planet. So, I don't think Tony Khan's that kind of guy. So, um,
he's what, a workaholic and probably does cocaine. Like he'd be running the world if this was 1980.
um, I just, I wonder if I don't know, when you give people too much, it desensitizes them. I mean, they talk about that stuff all the time, right? Too much violence desensitizes people to violence. I mean, the
Oh,
more
oh, oh.
dream, the more dream matches you have, the less dreamy those matches become, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. For AEW, it's a weird, I don't know. It's a fine line between putting too many of the best guys in the world that you have all at the same time in matches too often together because it's overload. You know what I mean? You want to leave those for big moments, but you have all these guys, and what are you going to do with them? But
Which
that's a
which
different.
wait, which
uh,
guys are you talking about?
just guys in general. I mean, I'm talking about the Okadas, the Ospreys, the Omegas when he's right. Now MJF is back. The Adam Coles when he's back and right. I mean, there's so many guys, and there's more guys on that list. I'm just in a couple on
Mhm.
top of my head that belong in that main event, revolving around Swerve, Samoa Joe, around that main event picture there, that title for all intents and purposes. And I just, the Brian Danielsons, when you have.
But that's what AEW is trying to do differently, where they want to make all their belts feel special. So all
Sure.
those guys are holding different belts because all those guys are worthy of being the champion. And with WWE, you have the distinct feeling of this is your A champion. Everyone else is below them.
Right.
Like you're
No,
not going
okay.
to tell me that
But I guess what I'm asking,
Swerve being the world champion makes him better than Osprey Okada. Uh, like all their champions are great. Like if you had it to where the world title is the number one title and every other title is below it, then you're getting into a real debate on who the hell you give that title to. But if you treat all the titles as if all the titles are important, then you can put all of your main guys holding a title. So I understand what Tony's going for. And we have to try and get out of the WWE mindset, the WCW mindset, the every other promotion's mindset that we've grown up with and have ingrained. And I know that's really hard, but it's really hard because we've been conditioned. We've grown up with wrestling and we've been conditioned that that's the way. And AEW's trying to completely do something different.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, and again, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, they're only been around for 5 years, going on 6 now, and for all intents and purposes, they become very big, very fast. They become very popular very fast. TNA has been around for 20 years in many different incarnations, and has never been able to reach the levels that AEW's reached in 5 years. So,
they had a pretty hot streak there where they were getting millions of viewers on TV.
Yeah.
TNA was pretty hot, but that was when I was in junior high.
Right.
It was a long time ago.
Sure. But here's the thing, Danielson at this point wrestling is a dream against whoever. But when you're putting him in week after week, pay-per-view after pay-per-view against the best of the best of the best, consistently over and over and over again, right after each other, by the 4th or 5th one, it loses its impact that the first one had, in my opinion. Even though it might be a different guy, because it takes away from some of the specialness of it. You know what I mean? The more you see Omega Ospreay, the less, I think, not the worse it becomes, but the less impact it has on you. The first one's amazing. The second one might be as good, maybe better. The third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh, if they ever get there, will not be that way. It can't help. You have that. I just think there's diminishing returns no matter the more you do things. And AEW has so many dream matches so often that it's almost like, okay, they just become second nature. They almost don't feel dreamy anymore. You know what I mean? And
well, the way I'm looking at it is that New Japan, we got the first Omega versus Ospreay.
Right.
And killer match. It was great. Then Forbidden Door, we got the second, arguably even better. And if you're offering me a third, I'm gonna eat that shit up. Yes, please.
I agree, but I also think there's only so many times you can hit that high mark.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do it, the better chance you have of failing and missing that high mark, right? I mean,
also another benefit is that they're not doing these back to back to back. They're doing it half a year apart, 2 years apart. Who knows when we're going to get 3? It's been a year.
Right. And not just speaking about them specifically, I'm just talking about having so many guys that are so good that so many matches feel like they're dream matches, whether it's Omega and Ospreay, whether it's Cole and MJF, whether it's MJF and Samoa Joe, whether it's Swerve and Hangman Page. All of these feel like dream matches, and they can't all be dream matches. There's only so much investment and emotion I have to give. And you know what I mean? I can't be at 100% for 11 matches in 5 hours on the fucking pay-per-view. I just can't, right? It's too much. And then again in another month or on Dynamite the following Wednesday, because again, you have these same guys that have to be in the same atmosphere with each other. So I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying it can.
You're saying it's too much of a good thing.
It could be. I'm wondering if that could be part of the issue.
Also, I wanted also say about Danielson, like we have what, 3 pay-per-view matches left with him. Like, if he takes the pay-per-view off, like, I will be disappointed because it means one less pay-per-view match we're going to get out of him. Because
I agree.
if he's going to just be working backstage and wrestling like once every blue moon, he didn't say he's retiring for good. He's saying he's retiring from full time.
Right.
So we'll still get the occasional, hey, I'm back. I'm going to wrestle this dude, and then I'm going to go back home.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, this run won't be his last match. Whenever this little run is up and he takes his break and goes away, I mean, he's still have. I'm sure he'll have a match once a year, once every 6 months, something like that. Maybe every couple of years, even depending on what's going on.
Like Christopher Daniels.
Yeah. Yeah, Christopher Daniels has been pretty active though the last few months. Maybe not quite that active, but yes, as a general rule, yeah, I think that's probably a fair comparison. Which is great. I mean, as long as we get to still see him, that's great. I mean, I'm happy for that. All right, I guess we've digressed enough and talked about AEW during a WWE show, but getting into NXT from 2 nights ago, the go home show.
It's in the tagline, the most chaotic wrestling review show. Like, sorry. You know what you came here. Come for the wrestling, stay for the chaos.
Sunday, we will have NXT Battleground. So this is our go-home show. So everything should be ultimately building towards that. That's the wrong date on the screen. It was not May 28th. It was actually June 4th.
Stall for time. I need a pee.
Okay, go ahead. Let's see. So as we get into, this is the go home show for Battleground. We will talk about this when Sammy gets back, and then we will do our quick Battleground preview. There are, I think, 8 matches so far for Battleground. Let's see. What do we got? We got 1, 3, 6 matches so far advertised for Battleground this Saturday. So actually, it'll be this Sunday. I apologize. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure and join us for our live watch along. We will be doing a watch along for that. And we will preview that after we discuss NXT from 2 nights ago. I thought NXT was a solid episode. I'm liking where NXT is at for the moment. Not everything is perfect. The women's division is definitely down, even though I like Roxanne Perez. If the women's division of NXT is definitely down at the moment, but the men's division feels pretty okay. Tony D's doing great work. Obafemi's great. I think his upside is amazing. I'm here for that. Wesley's back, so that makes me happy. Gallus is back, and they're running rough shots through NXT at the moment. I'm a huge Gallus fan in general. The work that NXT is doing is good at the moment. I think the show has been solid. I'm looking forward to Battleground. I think that the Trick as champion has come across pretty good. I mean, I'm here for that. I think he's done a good job being champion.
He's done a good job.
Trick as champion. I was just kind of talking about NXT and how it's been recently and going into Battleground. I was just saying that for me, it's been fun. I've enjoyed NXT where it's at. I think the women's division is a little down at the moment, but every federation has problems booking women, so that's not a surprise. But I think the men's work for the most part is pretty good. I was saying that Obafemi is doing really good stuff at the moment. I like what he's doing. Wesley's back, so that's great. Gallus is back. I'm happy to see that. So I think NXT is doing pretty good at the moment.
I struggle to give flowers to Trick right now. And I feel like most of it's not his fault. I'm just not really up for the whole story with Lash.
I can see that.
The Ethan Page story seems like a story we've seen before. Although I like Ethan Page, it doesn't feel like a fresh story.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting.
I don't hate it, but I struggle to praise it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't have that issue with it. I think Trick is doing a pretty good job. The crowd is really into him. He's really over. I
Oh
don't
yeah, the
necessarily.
crowd's definitely into him.
I don't care for. We talked a lot about our dislike overall for Metaphor, and unfortunately, Lash Legend is kind of boxed in with that because she's a member of Metaphor. I think she's okay, but I like, as a general rule, I just said I don't really care for all the kind of lovey, couple stories and that kind of stuff. So this falls into that for me. I mean, I could, if we never had Trick and Lash have this kind of situation, I'd be fine with that. I don't need it, I don't need that in my wrestling. So at the same time, I think they've both done an okay job with it. Um, Trick is definitely not Carmelo Hayes or Ilya Dragunov. He's a little rougher around the edges. He still needs more work.
Hmm.
He stumbled a little bit with his promo in the ring this week.
Hmm.
Um, but, he's got great energy. He's got the look. He's extremely athletic. Um, I do like him and Javon Evans together. Javon Evans, we'll talk about
Mm.
him. I'm high on him. Javon
Oh,
Evans.
I am too.
I'm super high on him.
Like I
And
think he's gonna be a big star. Like
I agree. I agree.
I said before a couple weeks back that he reminds me of a young Kofi Kingston. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
got the athleticism, he's got the energy. He he kind of exudes like a aura of positivity.
Yeah.
Like I feel
Definitely.
happy just seeing him on the screen.
Definitely. No, I can definitely agree with that. So, um, I forget what else I was going to say. But for the most part, I think Creek's doing okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying. In comparison to the last few NXT champions, he's definitely rougher and needs more work still. He's not ready for the main roster yet.
So
He needs more work for sure.
Dolph
Um,
Ziggler to Braun Breaker to Carmelo Hayes to Ilya Dragunov. Like such solid champions we had.
yeah,
And I guess we're kind of like spoiled now. Where like Trick feels like a step down. The fans love him though,
yeah.
and
I
so
mean,
that really helps. Like having the fans backing behind you really
it
helps.
does. It does. It does. If he wasn't over there, he'd have a much. It would be much easier for me to agree with you. It feels like being so. I don't know. It feels like being so over and being so young and being pushed so quickly, or at least young in WWE years, wrestling years, whatever years I've seen him with my eyes on my TV. Let's call it like that.
Yeah,
Um, that he's doing a pretty good job for being so green. But at the same time, you're right. I mean, there is definitely
he's
when
my
you
age.
put it that way, when you mention it that way, and compare him to the last four NXT champions, one of these things is not like the other, right? So, um, and that's unfortunate, but I think he can get there. And I'm not necessarily unhappy with it. And I do,
Well, that's also a big thing about him is that like comparing him to when he first came in. I don't know if he did anything on the indies. Like I think he came into NXT fresh.
I think that's true too. I think this is the first wrestling he's really ever done like that. So, um, and on the Ethan Page, um, thing. I love Ethan Page. I'm always going to be happy to see Ethan Page on my TV. He is an extremely great talker, and he's a great in-ring worker. Um, I think he's very athletic. I think his moveset is amazing, and I think he's a great talker. He might be a better talker than he is a wrestler, in-ring wrestler, and I think that's saying a lot.
The
So
problem I have is that like I don't want to see Ethan Page wrestling Trick for the NXT title. I want to see Ethan Page wrestling Tony D for the Heritage Cup.
yeah, no, I mean I can see that. I mean, me personally, I understand why Ethan Page is in NXT, but Ethan Page is too big for NXT. Um, for me personally, Ethan Page is a main roster superstar. I mean, he should be competing for an Intercontinental Championship shot or something. I mean, in my opinion, I think he's that good, if not better. But
Uh,
it is where he is. Huh?
I was just going to mention TNA, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, them as a tag team, like
Mhm.
they held that tag team division together for like over a year, like, and it's a thing where like you don't understand how good you got it until it's gone, because like once that tag team was broken up and Ethan Page left, I realized how much I enjoyed them and how much I missed having them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that for sure. Um, all right. So this week on NXT, the Go Home Show, we had it started off with Jordan Grace, your TNA Knockout Women's Champion, in a match against Stevie Turner, who hasn't had a whole lot of exposure or time on TV in NXT. She's pretty young and pretty green and pretty new to everybody. And as you would think, Jordan Grace did end up getting the win. Um, in a fairly easy style. I mean, I didn't think that whatchamacallit looked terrible. Stevie Turner looked terrible, but Jordan Grace should be getting the win here, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Jordan Grace looked really good. Um, I'm not totally sure what exactly we're doing here with Jordan Grace. I don't. I think her versus Roxanne Perez is going to be a fun match. We can talk about it when we preview Battleground after this. But in my mind, there's no way that they're putting a WWE title on a TNA superstar. I just don't see that happening. So
Um, I, I wouldn't count out the
it,
possibility. Like,
it just in some regards it feels too predictable that Roxanne's going to find some way to retain this title. I mean, the TNA Women's Championship is not on the line. So it's only the NXT Women's Championship on the line. So it's not like Roxanne could win the TNA title, which to me would seem to be. I often wonder,
if she wins the title, everyone's going to be talking about it.
sure,
Everyone will be talking about it. She'll be Jordan 2
100%.
belts.
Yeah.
And you keep her as the champion until you're ready to bring in Julia to come in and take the title off of her.
Has WWE ever put a belt on another promotion's signed talent?
They don't acknowledge Inoki.
Okay. Well, beyond that. I mean,
Um,
Bret Hart intimated he was going to leave with the title and they fucked him over. I mean, there's no way. I mean, I know this is a Vince McMahon. I know this is a new age. I know this is all these things. And maybe we'll see what feels like an extreme watershed moment for me if Jordan Grace has a WWE title on
this
her
will be
her waist.
newsworthy. People
Yeah.
will be talking about this.
No,
Every wrestling talk podcast will be in rampant discussions about it if they do it. Like,
if I'm here for it, I think it would be amazing if they did it because I think it would show that WWE in some regards has turned a corner. I
mhm.
think that showed that everyone that's concerned that Vince might not truly be gone or might still be, leaving a big shadow or casting a large shadow, that maybe it's a little bit less of a shadow than we think it is. Maybe he's a little bit more removed, farther removed than some people think he's are afraid he is. And that we're actually seeing some different kind of thought process from WWE. But man, at this moment, nothing tells me that. So history tells me no. History tells me WWE is not going to do that. But we'll see. I mean, I often wonder, and maybe you could play this out with me real quick. WWE is the big dog on the yard still, for all intents and purposes. So they lodge a phone call to TNA and say we want Jordan Grace, and TNA says sure, and WWE says we want her to come in and lose to Roxanne Perez, and TNA says sure. I can't imagine that that Jordan Grace or TNA is happy to do that. I mean, there's got to be some sort of discussion about, well, no, I want Jordan Grace to win, and WWE, well, I don't know about that. I mean, how do you think that plays out? I mean, what
Uh, well,
if you were a fly on the wall in the room when those conversations are happening? What do you think those look like?
I Well, I'm of the mindset of like have her hold the belt for a couple months, and then when your new big star that you're planning on debuting comes in, having her come in and take the belt off of such a great and dominant wrestler as Jordan Grace, like I think that's huge. I think that's bigger than if like she were to come in and win the belt off of Roxanne. Like I think that this gets people talking, this gets people watching, this improves your bottom line, and will help with the new TV deal in coming up in half a year.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of it from a business perspective. As long as you can put your trust in Jordan Grace, not to just win the belt and then not return to lose it. Like I don't see why not take a shot on her. And taking a shot on her, giving her that opportunity, letting her get the acknowledgement without her signing a contract makes it look real good to her when you do want her to come and sign a contract with you. And maybe bring her husband too, because Jonathan Gresham is great and he would tear NXT up.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
Give me Jonathan Gresham versus Obafemi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh man, would that be a great match?
Um, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I get it. Like I said, I mean, for as a wrestling fan and someone that's always had an issue with WWE's opinion on not sharing with other companies, I hope that this is a change and that they do something big here and that they do potentially put the title on her. I do worry about what that does for Roxanne Perez and what it looks like for the NXT women's division. That someone comes in. Now, to be fair, Jordan Grace is a megastar, but yeah, somebody else comes in from another brand that's not as big as WWE and comes in and takes the title right away. I mean, so what does that say about your division and the women you have on your team and roster? But and I don't know how anxious WWE is to look vulnerable in that position, but we'll have to see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if ultimately, it leads to what you're talking about, then maybe WWE is okay with that, and then maybe that's how they're looking at it for the first time.
Here's the thing with business deals that Vince had trouble understanding. You have to give and take. And that doesn't just mean they give and you take.
Yeah,
Like you got to give sometimes too.
yeah. No, I guess that's true.
I,
All
I
right. So
I think it'd be a statement. I think it'd be good for business.
yeah,
Like I mean, it's
no, I
not like any
agree.
Joe Schmo. It is Jordan Grace.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it would be a great move. I'm kind of the I'll believe it when I see it type of situation. I mean,
And I don't
but
blame you for that because of all the years we've seen WWE. Like they would never.
not pull the trigger or be assholes or not join the wrestling community or not participate. So but yeah, no, I mean I think it would be great. I mean I think it would show that they're definitely it's a different era if they do that. So
And
um
maybe more people would be willing to come and work with WWE if they show we can play ball.
right. Yeah, no, I agree. Despite getting squashed, Stevie Turner wants another shot, I guess, at um Jordan Grace, I
But
suppose. I don't know why they would do that again, but
no,
no, I mean,
she
right.
squashed you once. Like
You're not
put your
getting
tail
another
between
match.
your legs and walk away and challenge somebody else.
Let's see. Do, 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 do. We had a women's North American title summit. This was terrible. All of the women that are going to be in the North American title match at Battleground, basically ended up in the ring. Let's see, Fallon Henley, Meechin, Kalani Jordan, Saul Ruka, um, Lash Legend. Who else am I missing?
The girl who was third to the right.
Yeah, let's see. I've got their names here, actually, right here. Saul Ruka, Meechin, and Jada Parker defeated Lash
Parker.
Legend, Fallon Henley, and Kalani Jordan by pinfall. Okay.
Who is winning this?
Who's winning this belt? Here's the question that I have. honestly. This is a real question. I'll give you my answer. Here's my real question. At this point, do you even care?
I had it in my mind that this belt was Lola Vice's, and then she's not a part of this, and I'm just like, huh, huh?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No, I mean,
I had it built in my brain that they created this belt in order to give to Lola Vice. And
right.
Lola Vice is having a match with Shayna Baszler, which, I mean, I'm looking forward to. Don't get me wrong. I think that's going to be an exciting match, and probably no, I'm going to say definitely a better match than this.
Yeah. There are women that are associated with the NXT roster that I think are better than any of these 6 women, and in theory should be potentially participating for the title. Some of them might be hurt, that I'm not positive
Uh,
about, but
I don't know who you're thinking of.
well, I'm thinking of Blair Davenport.
She's on main roster.
How did she get called? That she got drafted? That's
Mhm.
right. She did get drafted. That's right. So let me think about this for a minute. Lola Vice is one person that I think is definitely. Um, Lyra got drafted. I'm trying to think of who else is still there that didn't get drafted. That
You got
mm,
Toxic Attraction.
yeah, nah, not them. I mean, maybe it's really just Lola Vice, but
Mm-hmm.
it feels like I don't really care, honestly. None of these 6 women really move the needle for me, which is unfortunate because I do like Mia Chin. I've always
Mm-hmm.
been a Mia Yim fan. I don't think they booked her very well over the last couple of years, and I think she's really fallen off the map for all intents and purposes. I would love to see them put it on her, but that doesn't seem likely. I have a feeling this belt unfortunately ends up on Fallon Henley. I don't
That's what
know
I was
why.
thinking. I
I
was
just
absolutely thinking this belt goes to Fallon Henley. We are of the
right,
same
right.
mind. Yes.
Which, yeah, I mean, it doesn't do anything for me because I don't like Fallon Henley particularly. So,
I have
um,
warmed up now that she's no longer with Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen, that she's on her own now, and like she does solid on the mic. Her in ring has gotten better, and
yeah,
it's like I don't think she's the best on the roster, but like is there anybody on here that's better? Like Sol
yeah,
Ruka is good in the ring, but
yeah,
like Fallon's better on the mic.
yeah. And Soul
Uh,
hasn't had a chance. She was injured and hasn't really had a chance to establish herself like that. I mean, Jada Parker's nice to look at, but beyond that, she hasn't really shown much. Lash Legend is
ugh.
what she is.
Yeah. Kalani Jordan is good.
Yes.
I just, I don't know if she's ready.
Yeah, I was just to say she's still very young and very green, so I'm not sure she's ready. I mean, Mi Chin is Mia Yim's the veteran here. And it seems like the one that's probably, in theory, in the best position to be the one to have the belt first. But at the same time, I'm not sure I see them doing that. And it feels like they're positioning Fallon to be one of the faces of the women's NXT division. That's just appealing. I get the way
Mhm.
they present her now. So it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I think Fallon Henley gets the win, unfortunately, at Battleground. That would be my suggestion. This wasn't actually the match. So up here, this is the match, but I just put this up here for the names. This was just a segment where they got together in the ring and had some fallout and ultimately announced that they were going to have this match later in the night. Spoiler, Ruka, Michin, and Parker got the win. Let's see. We then, after we had the um North American title match, ladder match summit, as they're calling it, um, we had footage of Shayna Baszler and Lola Vice ahead of their Battleground Underground match. And then we got um, Thea Hale versus Jasmine Nix.
So
Again,
Lola Vice,
uh,
her first language is Spanish, not English, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. Because like she's a total package.
Yes.
like when she was in the tag team, like, you know, that was her getting her reps in. That was her, learning to be a pro wrestler, not to be a fighter.
Right.
But she's really taken to it. She's gotten a lot better. Like, really, her only struggle is cutting promos, and it's because English isn't her first language, and she still does fine. She does better than a lot of the girls on the roster do who English is their first language.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, sometimes there is a little bit of a language barrier when you have someone that English isn't their first language. Even if they're a decent promo, they could still have you can still come off as a little bit of a language barrier, um, which is. And again, not to digress and take away from WWE, I'm going to make another AEW reference, but Dynamite last night, that's how I felt about Rush's interruption of MJF. It was like Roosh is great and I'm here for that, but he sounded terrible on the mic in that promo work. Like it just doesn't come off right. I'm sorry. I just don't, so
He mentioned I've been here working. It's
yeah,
bro, you've had 3 matches this year. What do you mean?
right. Yeah. So needless to say, Lola Vice, I think she comes across a little bit better than that, but there is definitely still a little bit of a hitch there. Sometimes it's that. Um, I was unaware. I know because WWE's told me. I've never seen a Lola Vice mixed martial arts fight. So I was unaware, other than WWE telling me that she was a former mixed martial arts fighter. Um, Knowing that, I guess it does a little bit more for me to hype up the Shayna Baszler stuff. I guess I'm a little more excited for the potential chemistry in an underground match between two people that know how to actually put on those kind of fights, than just two wrestlers trying to do something that they've never done before.
Oh wow,
And
what was it that AEW did? It was Jake Hager versus Wardlow, I think.
mhm.
And Wardlow's not an MMA guy, so it
Mhm.
kind of went how you expected it to go.
Yes,
Now, like
yeah.
if you look at Bloodsport, like everybody in Bloodsport will be able to give you what you're looking for. Josh Barnett versus anybody. Yeah, that's the kind of match. Speaking of which, we got to see Josh Barnett on NXT in the video package.
Oh, you're right. Yes, we did during the Lola Vice Shayna Baszler. Yeah, Shayna Baszler stuff when they were talking about that. Yes, we did. You're right. Um, so I've always been outwardly against underground, whether it was Raw Underground, whether it's NXT Underground. I haven't liked it. This is the first time I've been somewhat excited about it because I feel like we're getting two women that know how to put on that kind of a fight. It can give us a real sense of a mixed martial arts fight as opposed to two wrestlers trying to pretend to do something they don't know how to do. So um, I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Let's see, Thea Hale and Jasmine Nix. Jasmine Nix got the win. Um, let's see. For a while I thought they were pushing Thea Hale. Well, I mean, I guess they were
Mhm.
kind of with JC Jane, right? And they were, but that kind of never really panned out per se. And then I thought they were going to push her a little bit alone, but now not. And now she's losing to Jasmine Nix, who is basically a newcomer that feels really green. I mean, I don't. Thea Hale shouldn't be losing to Jasmine Nix, but
Um, Thea Hale is still young. Like as of now, like I would never put her on the main roster as of this moment. Like, but she's still young. She can get better and improve. But also, like JC Jane, like she also doesn't feel main roster material to me.
yeah, no, I would agree with that.
But also, Kiana James doesn't, and they put her on the main roster. So what do I know?
Well, there is that. um, we then got a video of Frazier and Axiom brawling with OC at the merchandise trailer before the show started, hyping up their match for tonight, or their match for Battleground. I'm sorry, on Saturday for the titles. Um, I'm looking forward to that match. I love Carl Anderson. I'm so on Luke Gallows. I do like them together as a tag team. They've always been one of my, I wouldn't say favorites, but one of the tag teams I've enjoyed over the years. Um, I'm not an Axiom and Frazier fan. At the same time, I
We
it
did
seems
the
like
tag team tier list. I made my thoughts about Axiom Frazier clear to anybody who watched that. Like,
it seems like a step back to put the titles on OC at this point, just because they don't do anything and they're old and they're at least Axiom and Frazier, whether you like them or not, are young guys, up and coming, on the go, that have the ability to actually wrestle every week, potentially defend those titles. If you put the belts on the Good Brothers or the OC, they're not probably defending them every week. They're going to give you good matches here and there, and
um,
have it for a
there,
month or two and lose it. So
there is potential though. Like if you have OC win and you have Michin win, you have the OC, like holding titles on NXT. We'll see them more often, and it could lead to some potentially good things. Like it's in the air that it's a possibility. We could get that. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I do not.
and I mean, like I said, I love Michin and I like the Good Brothers, so I would love to see that. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think
If
that
they
would
did
be
it,
good.
I'm not mad.
Yeah, I'd
I
be happy
don't
with it.
think that's in the card.
I don't, yeah, and I don't think it's in the card because even though I would like it, ultimately it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, NXT is the show where you're pushing new, younger talent, and to give the belts to people that are not new, young talent just doesn't really make sense. I mean, so neither Michin or the OC needs belts at this point to be on NXT, right? Sorry,
Mhm.
excuse me. So I don't. Whereas Axiom and Frazier, those guys need it. They're still getting their feet wet. They're still, whatever, all those things. So, um, all right. Then we got one of my two favorite parts of the show. Sean Spears attacking Josh Briggs with a steel chair backstage. I'm here for Spears and Briggs.
Mhm.
I'm big on that. And then Javon Evans stepped up to Spears and they brawled into the ring, um, which was a lot of fun. Evans caught him with the springboard cutter in the middle of the ring. Um, and this was fun. I mean, I'm here for all of this. Ultimately, Briggs, Spears, Evans. I don't know what this ends up turning into, but I'm here for it. And I enjoyed this segment a lot.
Um,
Um,
I also had a thought of
yeah,
you could do a tag team with Spears, and that'd be a great position on the card for him.
Spears and Briggs.
Uh, well, they were doing the stuff with I'm spacing on his name. Uh, he wrestled with Butch and Sheamus.
Oh, geez.
He retired for a week and came back.
Yeah, Ridge Holland.
Ridge Holland.
Yes.
But personally, I'd actually prefer Sean Spears and Lexis King. I think that would really give Lexis King something to do. And I think that those two being assholes to the division would be entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. Um, I'm always happy. I was happy to see Javon Evans here in this spot. I'm always happy to see him on the TV. We talked about him earlier and how high we are both on him. I want to see him against Spears. I wouldn't mind seeing him, ultimately against Briggs too. It looks like him and Briggs are kind of on the same side, right? But at the same time, ultimately, even that would be a good match. So I thought this was a solid segment. It was my favorite segment of the show.
The only drawback to him is he's so fresh. He's
He is.
so young that it's like you really don't want to push him just yet because you want to let him get his steps in. You want him to like learn the ropes and everything. Like so it's a weird situation because you do want, fresh young talent, but he's so fresh and so young that's like, ugh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We need to
And
hold back just a little bit.
just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, so let's see. Then we had Dempsey backstage at the Performance Center trying to motivate Damon Kemp by doing a very terrible mob boss impersonation. Um, and then both teams talked about, I guess, using the catch clause, but it was announced ultimately that it was going to be Damon Kemp and Tony D for this match. And so we ultimately got Tony D'Angelo versus Damon Kemp. Tony D got the win, 2 falls to 0 to retain the Heritage Cup. Didn't surprise me that Tony D got the win here. I'm not necessarily even upset that he won 2-0. Here's the only issue that I have. Our dude is a beast in real life. In a real wrestling match, I don't think there's much comparison. And you present the No Catch Quarter Crew, even though it's a terrible name and whatever, as being the wrestlers, right? They're like, and yet you have him lose to a guy that in theory shouldn't be on his wrestling level, right?
So Tony D got the first, and then when you got to the next round, like Kemp was like a hair away from getting it, and it would be
Yes,
1-1. He was a hair
right.
away,
He was.
but Tony D was saved by the bell. And then you get into the third, and like I blinked and I missed it, and Tony D won. And I was like, wait, what? that two
Yeah.
falls? How'd that second fall happen? Like I looked away for 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I didn't actually see how Tony D got it, but
Right.
like it happened so quick
It
when
did.
we got
It
to that
did.
round.
Tony D is really good, but Damon Kemp is really good as well. So I mean, this is a little, but it is what it is. This feud, the family versus the No Corner Catch Crew, has been terrible. It hasn't hit in any way, shape, or form. I don't, it's not doing anything for me. And unfortunately, even though I drafted him and like him, at this point, I can't help but agree with Chase. Charlie Dempsey is not hitting the mark. Um, he's feeling like he's pretending or trying to be a tough guy as opposed to just being himself and a tough guy. It's weird. I don't know. Like
He's also pretending to be American.
well, there's that. I mean, I think they just lean into it and bring in William Regal to manage the team and right the ship. If that's really your goal, is to have them be a viable team, or split them up and move on, because that faction isn't working, and this feud is not working, in my opinion.
I don't even know who the third dude is.
Miles Bourne, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
other than knowing his name, I don't know who he is either. I mean, so let's see.
Like if they bring in Gable Steveson, that would help out a lot. But why would you saddle Gable Steveson with this?
Yeah, that is true. Other than the fact that Damon Kemp's his brother, nothing. Let's see, Natty versus Izzy Dane. Natty with Carmen Petrovich. There's this weird take under the wing learning tree thing going on between Natty and Carmen, and it feels like Carmen's the one that should be getting the matches and Natty at ringside, but it's the other way around quite often. So it's weird. Like I guess you learn by watching as opposed to getting in the ring and doing, and then having Natty give constructive criticism or input. I mean,
Carmen's
okay,
also got MMA background to her.
oh, okay,
Um,
okay. So she was on a walking stick, and apparently she might have suffered an injury over the weekend, Carmen. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. Natty got the
Maybe Carmen was supposed to wrestle, but because she can't, Natty got the match instead. Yeah? Maybe.
yeah. Um, Natty got the win here over Izzy Dane in a pretty easy matchup. Um, I don't. wasn't she just on Raw also the night before with a little segment about how she needed a change and all this stuff, and now she's on
Natty?
NXT. I don't know. It didn't feel like she was making a change here.
Uh,
This felt like the same Natty, but
Talking about Natty, she was
yeah.
also seen in a segment backstage talking to Sonya. While I think, Sami Zayn was walking through backstage, and I think he did like a second take, like,
And I mean, she even, I guess she even, I guess, yeah, on Raw, she said the same thing she said last on NXT, which was enough is enough, and it's time for a change. I don't know exactly what that means. I guess we'll
I guess
see.
she's making a deal with the Deville.
Okay.
Sonya's got something up her sleeve. She always does, right?
Sonya's got something up her sleeve. Uh, let's see. Joe Coffey and Mark Coffey and Wolfgang Gallus come into the ring after commercial and beat down Tyson and Tyreek ahead of the tag team match. Um, and they say that they are going to take the North American title from Oba Femi. Oba comes out to confront Gallus, and then Wes Lee comes out of the crowd to build up their triple threat match between Joe Coffey. This is Joe or Mark. It's either Joe or Mark. Oba and Wesley at Battleground. Um, I love Gallus. I think they're fun. I
Yeah.
think they give great promos. This was one of the better in-ring promos. And this was a fun little segment. I really enjoyed this. I'm happy Gallus is back and healthy. Um, I'm excited for this triple threat match. Obafemi's fun for me. I'm coming around to him a lot, and I like Wesley, so this
Hmm.
should be fun. I kind of agree with what you said. This is a potential chance to take that belt off of Oba without him having to lose. But we'll talk about that actually when we get more of the preview. But for
Here's
this
another
segment,
thing.
I thought this was fun.
I really like Gallus. They're one of the better tag teams in WWE as a whole,
Hmm.
but I don't think they should be holding singles titles.
Okay.
Uh, Tag titles, definitely. Take the belts off of Nathan and Axiom and put them on Gallus immediately.
Okay.
But singles titles, no.
No, not for you, huh?
Like, like, who's the best person to put them on? Mark, Joe, like,
Not Wolfgang. I mean, I
not
think it's got to be
Wolfgang.
Mark or Joe. I mean, I think Wolfgang is kind of the weakest link in the three.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't. They they feel kind of FTR-ish in that regard. I mean, they're both good singles wrestlers, but I don't necessarily need to see a belt on either of them as singles guys. They work better as tag team guys, and that's where their sweet spot feels like for me. So, I mean, I guess I tend to agree. Um,
Also, brothers who wrestle together, like, that's such a great thing. Like, I
yeah.
don't understand like why like so many people want the brothers to break up and
I assume either Oba retains or Wesley wins the belt back. I don't think. I think unfortunately, um, I think it's Markov. He has zero chance probably of winning here. Um, he's a good wrestler and he's a good hand and it should be a fun match nonetheless. So let's see. We got a vignette promising the return of Wendy Chu.
uh,
Um,
okay.
I was just gonna say, do you care at all? Um,
um the I, I'm trying to remember a match like I remember the spot of like off the top rope going to sleep elbow dive or whatever like
yeah.
like
Yeah.
she was the old lady with uh you remember the old lady in the chair with the veil?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that was her before she was Winnie Chu.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
Like
All right.
she's clearly a character actor. It's just is this really the character y'all want to land on? Like let's third time's the charm. That's what they say. Let's try for character number 3 and not do Sleepy Windy Chew. Like,
Sleepy Wendy Chu definitely did not get over.
I
So
mean, it got over, but I think it got over for the wrong reasons.
for the
Like
wrong reasons.
NXT fans, you need to do better. If
Yeah,
something is stupid, let them know. Because
I, I agree with that. Let's see. Alexis King was giving an interview and he was summarily attacked by Dante Chen. And then security broke them up and Alexis King said a challenge. I want to settle this once and for all. Again, I just feels like really bad booking for Alexis King. Dante Chen, I don't care at all about in this feud, does nothing for me. And it feels like Alexis King is just doing nothing in NXT. I mean, it's very disappointing.
if you ask me to name wrestlers on NXT, I'd never think of Dante Chen unless I have a list in front of me.
Yeah. So next we had the match that I had the graphic up for before: Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, and Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka, Michin, and Jada Parker. Ultimately, Sol Ruka, Michin, and Jada Parker got the win, in which was an okay match. Again, this is just more build up to the ladder match at Battleground for the women's North American title. Um, I enjoyed it. It was okay for what it was. I thought Jada Parker looked good in this match, and the crowd um, wanted was behind Sol Ruka. There was a couple times they chanted, "We want Sol," I guess, a couple times, and it was behind Sol Ruka, which I like Sol Ruka. I mean, I was big on her before she got injured. Her return hasn't quite been as what I thought it would, what I hoped it would be. I wouldn't be mad with them putting the title on her here. I don't see them doing that, but I wouldn't be mad at that.
Uh,
I'm kind of curious to see what happens. She refused to tag in Soul at one point. Jada Parker did, so I wonder, which is fine. I mean, ultimately they're all enemies going into this ladder match. So, but I wonder if there isn't some more after this between Saul and Jada Parker.
uh, so Sol Ruka needs work on her mic skills, but aside from that, she's fine. Like
Yeah,
I have no issues with her. Like
yeah,
character's fine. Her wrestling's pretty good. She's gotten good matches, like the stuff she did with Blair Davenport. She had that match with Lola Vice. Like, it's hard for me to complain about her.
yeah,
The only complaint I have is she's not the best on the mic. Like,
yeah. No, I would agree with that. I mean, she definitely still needs more work for sure, no doubt. Let's see. Then we got our main event segment of NXT. This is really my only complaint of the show, even though I didn't think it was bad. I just don't like these contract signing segments, and I don't think they should ever be a main event. Um,
I will say I enjoyed the moment when Ethan Page grabbed the table and threw it out of the ring when Trick was just entering the ring. Like, I don't think Trick had even said a word yet. Ethan Page grabbed that
right,
table and threw it out. I've seen these before. I know how it goes. Like, it's not happening.
right. So Ethan Page was in the ring. He wants a better contract than anybody. He's going to replace all the stars who were taken in the WWE draft because NXT has been depleted and they need someone to save them. Trick shows up and ultimately they go back and forth. Ethan Page, basically gives Trick every compliment he can, and to build up Trick before the match, make him look bigger, better, what all those things. Ethan Page is really, really good on the mic. That's one of his strongest attributes, in my opinion, and I think he showed that here. I'm happy for this. I honestly, even though I think it's probably a little unfair to Trick and it probably minimizes and cools him down a lot, I wouldn't mind seeing Ethan Page win here. You talked about Trick, not being, you being a little cold on Trick at the moment, and I think he does need a little more work. So I wouldn't mind. This is his first run with the belt, and if he loses it here, he could have a chance at it again down the road. But I after the other four champions you mentioned, I do think we need to get back to better champions. I think Ethan Page would be a really good NXT champion. So that's my personal opinion on that. I thought this was a very solid segment, even though I don't like it being the main event. I thought this was good.
It also reminds me of when Drew McIntyre came back.
Mm-hmm.
He went to
Yeah.
NXT. His very
Mm-hmm.
first match, he won the NXT title. He was in NXT for like 2 months and then went to the main roster.
Yeah.
I could definitely see them doing that with Ethan Page. Comes in, wins the title, is in NXT for 2 months, boot him up to the main roster after SummerSlam.
Yeah, I agree. Because for me, even though I know NXT needs guys, Ethan Page feels too big for NXT. That's just my personal feeling. But again, I mean, some people don't mind being a bigger fish in a small pond. Maybe he just is happy to be champion and dominate for a little bit. Maybe you're right. Maybe it'll just be title on him for a month or two and then go up to the main roster. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I thought this was an overall pretty good go home show. Um, NXT, I think, has been fairly solid over the last month to 2 months. I've enjoyed it a lot. And I think Battleground should be a fun pay-per-view. Let's see. Any final comments about NXT from this week before we jump in real quick to our Battleground preview?
There's moments that are really good and makes me hopeful about the future of WWE as a whole. And then there's other moments where I'm like, is this person ever going to get better, or should we just get rid of them and give somebody else an opportunity? Because like you keep trying with people and it's not getting better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say that it was, if I'm grading it or, workhorse style, I would say this was front of the middle of the pack, maybe the end of the front of the pack. I thought this was probably like a B plus show. I mean, I thought it was really solid for the most part. So I thought they did a good job for a go home show going into Battleground.
It just hurts to think that you could fire half the roster and you wouldn't be missing anything.
Yeah, no, that is definitely unfortunate. That's an indictment of any company or any federation or organization when you can say that. So that's definitely not good.
Yeah, you keep the top 20 people, and like the rest like aren't really blips on the radar.
Yeah, no, I mean, unfortunately, that's probably very true. So let's see. Our last little segment of this live Raw or live All for Naught, and the whole reason we decided to do this week is because we're going to preview Battleground quickly. It is this Sunday, June 9th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be doing a live watch along, so make sure and join us for that here on the Workhorse Wrestling Network. Let's see. We've got, in no particular order, because I don't know how these are going to go down, but Shayna Baszler versus Lola Vice, NXT Underground. Who do you got, and what do you think of this match? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm definitely looking forward to it. This is one of my matches that I'm the most hyped for, like, honestly. This would be huge for Lola. It would directly put her in the spotlight, something big. Like, you got to be moving her up in the card. Like, if she wins this, she's immediately solid top 3 woman in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
But God, can you let Shayna lose again? Again? When has Shayna been winning? Like, what's going on? Like, do y'all got a vendetta against Shayna? Like, I remember her reign back in NXT back in the day. Like, you could not beat her, and now you cannot let her win. Like,
Yeah.
what happened?
No. Yeah, the booking with Shayna Baszler is really unfortunate and makes me sad, unfortunately, because I really like her, but it's really fallen off, especially since she left NXT. I mean, she was booked, with Ronda Rousey a couple, and they were tag team champions, and she's had a couple of little stints here and there on the main roster, but nothing like what she was able to do on NXT as champion, and nothing like what I ever hoped they would do with her. I mean, in my opinion, she's never reached her potential. They've never booked her to her potential. Um, yeah, I mean, it'd be a huge win for Lola Vice here and move her right up. I think if she wins here, she should be right in line to get a shot at the NXT Championship, whether it's Roxanne Perez or Jordan Grace. She should be, maybe the next in line. Or right there. So yeah, and again, like I said, we talked about this before, as we talked about a lot of these matches during our NXT review. This is the first time I've really been excited for an underground match because we've got two MMA fighters that can actually give us that style of match. So I'm interested in it. I think it should be really good.
Who are
I
you taking?
man,
Because honestly,
I,
I'll
I
go
I'm gonna.
with the other one. That's how.
I mean, I think I agree with you. I think it's got to be Lola Vice because that's the only thing that makes sense. But at the same time, how can Shayna keep losing? But it's got to be Lola Vice. It has to be. I mean, I don't understand how it's not.
It's so
So
weird because like Lola's got to win. It'd be so big for her, but also Shayna can't lose. Like, how can you do that to her? So
especially in an underground match, like in a match that's like in her wheelhouse, especially like, yeah,
it
I don't
just
know.
doesn't feel good. Like,
I agree. I mean, Shayna Baszler is so good, and it's an underground match, which is her wheelhouse, all those things. So I guess maybe it doesn't destroy Lola too much to take a loss, but it feels like it really derails her momentum.
can we get a draw? Can we get like a double knockout?
And there you go. That wouldn't be terrible. Maybe we'll get someone to come down and interfere and break it up so it ends in a no contest or something. So
I guess it would be Natalia and Carmen, huh?
yeah,
That's what the
yeah,
feud was before. That's who,
right,
Lola won the match, and then we got this feud.
right, yeah.
I don't know if that's really something we want to do.
I'm not sure it is either. I mean, yeah, I
Is
don't know
there
that we want to revisit that.
is there an MMA woman that I'm unaware of?
Ivy Nile.
She's not MMA, is she?
Yeah, I think she's former MMA, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think she's a former MMA fighter.
I mean, the best thing would be the debut of Paige Van Zant, but I don't think she wants to wrestle anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
No, I don't. Yeah, I imagine that this will probably end with one person winning. Um, and like I said, I think it'll probably be Lola. But so that means you're picking Shayna since you said you were going opposite by default.
yeah,
All right,
I,
all
I'm.
right.
I mean, either way, I'm not going to be completely happy, and either way, I'm not going to be completely mad
Yeah.
because, like, one of them will be a winner, but I won't be no matter what happens.
Let's see. So the North American title 6-pack ladder match. We talked about this a lot earlier. I think we both agreed that we think it's Fallon Henley
Hmm.
that's going to be winning this match. So I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it at this point. If you do, by all
Who are
means.
you taking as number two? Second highest chance.
Second highest chance to win this. Geez Louise, that's really, really tough. I mean, I man, none of that. Unfortunately, I mean, man, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the most likely beyond Fallon Henley would be either Kalani Jordan or Jada Parker, but neither of them is ready for it. I mean, Mi Chin should be the next person, if not the favorite, but I just don't see them doing that at this point. They haven't done anything for her yet. Why would they do this now? Like, it seems like a weird spot. I like it because I like her and she's a veteran. I think it would be fine. Give her another chance with the belt, maybe one last chance with the belt. But I just don't see them doing that. So if it's not Fallon Henley, I mean, I don't see it being Sol Ruka at this point, unfortunately. Lash Legends in the mix with Trick Williams and that stuff. So I don't see it being her. And she's not even
Actually,
her
that's
upside.
exactly why they could give it to her.
Oh, yeah, you think so?
They shouldn't. They should not. But it has the women's championship in metaphor segments. It has the women's championship in trick segments. Like,
Jeez, yeah.
but oh my God, please don't do that because I would rather have any other woman in this match be the women's champion instead.
Which is unfortunate because I don't necessarily dislike Lash Legend per se. I'm just not. Yeah, for her, I don't see her. Yeah, I don't. That would be disappointing for me. Uh, you know, Jada Parker is probably one of the better wrestlers out of the six of them, so I wouldn't mind her. But she's so new on the scene that she hasn't really had a chance to get her feet wet, and it seems like it'd be kind of stepping over other people to put the title on her.
I had
But
forgotten her name. Like when we were discussing the match earlier, I had forgotten her name. I was just like, the woman who was third to the right.
right, yeah. Kalani Jordan's been there putting in work. I mean, but she's not overly impressive. I mean, I don't know.
She
This
might get there. She's still fresh. She might get there, but like,
this definitely feels like a mid card to lower tier title. I mean, all these women feel unfortunately very mid card. Some of them lower than that, unfortunately.
um, so I could see Fallon and Soul challenging for the main women's championship, just not winning.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Soul should be there, but I mean, like you said, she needs work on the mic, and it feels like they were hot on her before she got injured, and now it feels like since she's been back, they've been kind of booking her a little differently. So we'll have to see ultimately what they end up doing with her. But
And I'm
yeah,
assuming Meechan's going back to the main roster after this.
right, yeah, I assume this is Fallon Henley and everybody else, unfortunately. So um, let's see. All right,
Because
Nathan
like
Frazier.
Fallon
Good.
Henley, I don't feel is able to win the main women's championship, but
I agree with that.
I think she's the best in this match aside from Meechan. Like
I agree with
Meechan's the
that
only one
too.
I'd say is better, but
Yeah,
like I don't see
yeah.
giving it to
No,
Meechan.
I agree with that. No, I agree 100% with exactly what you're saying, which is why I think Fallon Henley probably is the winner.
Fallon Henley, I used to not like. I
Yeah.
didn't like her matches. I didn't like her promos. I hated the story,
Yes, I
but
agree
she's
with that.
really grown and really developed.
Yeah.
And like it's one of the shining examples of okay, she's getting there. She's actually getting there. Oh, and then oddly enough, freaking Kiana James was the one they drafted to the main roster. Like, oh, Fallon Henley
Yeah.
would have been a much better choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably very true. That's probably very true. All right, let's see. NXT Tag Team Championship. Fraser and Axiom versus the OC. Who you got?
I guess Frazier and Axiom, but like, I want them to lose the titles, but I don't think this is
Mm,
the team to lose the titles to.
yeah. Nah, I mean, I'm picking Fraser and Axiom too, unfortunately. I mean, like I said, I like the OC better. I like both those guys better, but it doesn't make any sense for them to win. I mean, I don't know. Not that Fraser and Axiom are doing anything with the belts, not that it's anything, but it just doesn't make any sense to put them on guys that are part timers that are old and basically, for all intents and purposes, half retired. I mean, it doesn't that does nothing for the belts either. So um, I don't know. I assume
Um,
Fraser and Axiom retain.
yeah, I would assume Gallus as the next tag team champions.
Now that
Uh,
becomes interesting.
There's also that other tag team. I'm trying to remember who they are. The new guys. We had them
Well,
in.
there's out the mud,
Uh,
which is
not them.
um
TNT.
okay. Tyreek and Tyson and Tyreek, I believe.
I need to see more from them, but
Mm-hmm.
they are a potential. What I would do is
Mm-hmm.
I'd have Gallus beat Nathan Frazier and Axiom, and if TNT, progresses, gets good enough, and is ready, they could potentially be the ones to take the titles off Gallus in the future.
We can see that. There's three teams that are kind of there. There's out the mud, there's TNT, and then there's Inofi and Blade. All three of those teams feel kind of similar at the moment. But TNT stood out a little bit more, probably.
And
I think
they're
Inofi and
brand new. Like,
yeah, Inofi and Blade have gotten more time, but I think TNT stood out a little bit more. And I'm not impressed with Out the Mud at all. So
the only
um,
caveat is if they make a new tag team. Like if they were to make a Sean Spears Lexus King, then
sure,
like things are going up in the air then. But going off of the tag teams that exist now, I'd
right,
say the tag team to beat Frazier and Axiom is Gallus. So until that match happens, I'm assuming they're holding the titles.
yeah, that's fair. North American Championship: Oba versus Wesley versus Joe Coffey. Who you got?
Wesley.
And you think Wesley, obviously, for Wesley to win, he's got to get the pin on Joe Coffey. So,
Yes.
um, yeah, I have a feeling that Obafemi retains here, and I think he gets the pin on Joe Coffey. I think ultimately it leads somehow to a singles match between West and Oba, and then I don't know what happens. Think about that in the long run, but I think Obafemi retains here. I think that he's done really good work with the belt. I think it's too soon to take the belt off them, even though Wesley was doing good with it before he got injured. This sounds wrong, but I feel like we know what we have with Wesley, and it's nice and it's good. I think we don't know yet ultimately what we have with Obafemi, and it feels like his upside can be very high.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, much higher than I think Wesley's upside is. And I only say that just because Wesley will always be hindered by his size, I think, and his style of wrestling. Obafemi is perfect for main roster when he's ready. And to dominate at the main roster when he's ready. He's big, he's strong, all those things. He's athletic. He's got a good move set. So I think his upside on the main roster is way higher than Wesley's. So for me, I think Oba retains here.
Uh, the thing I was thinking was Wesley beating Joe Coffey, but like,
Yeah,
yeah, like if I was given the option, like I would definitely keep Obafemi as champ.
yeah,
Like if you're choosing me who I would pick as who I'd want,
sure.
I'm going Obafemi. But I'm
Right.
thinking of storyline, booking, and everything. I can definitely see them giving it to Wesley.
Yeah. All right. Women's NXT championship match. This is the one that's the hardest for me to decide. Roxanne Perez versus TNA knockout champion Jordan Grace. Who you
I,
got?
I'm going Jordan. I'm going Jordan. Like,
All right.
don't get me wrong. Like, big Roxy fan here. Like, I think she's great. Like, to the women who are signed to NXT, like, she is number one. Well, unless you're counting Julia, then Roxanne's number two.
Right.
But with Jordan, like, there's so much potential here. Like it's good business. It's good business as long as you trust Jordan and Jordan doesn't betray that trust, which I don't know why she would. Like it
Um,
feels like the right move to make for the future of the industry.
I would agree with that. I mean, I would agree with that. All that said, and I think you said it great, and I think I agree with it. All that said, I still think I'm going to go Roxanne Perez, just because history tells me
WWE will never change.
WWE will never change, and the WWE still yields the bigger stick. That when like I asked you before, when they're making those phone calls or they're having that phone call or they're in the room talking face to face, however you want to do it, TNA and WWE, whatever people are talking, it WWE flexes and TNA kind of acquiesces, right? That's
Hmm.
just how I still see it. So WWE says we're not letting our champion lose to your champion. Sorry, we're just not. So we'll have to figure out some way to do it. Maybe Jordan Grace doesn't lose clean or any of that. Maybe something happens. I don't know. But I don't know. It feels like WWE just is not going to do that. But so for that regard, I'm picking Roxanne Perez. I hope it's Jordan Grace. I think that would be awesome. And I think that it would do a lot to, like you said, open up the industry and do some things. So I'm here for that. But history says I think Roxanne Perez wins.
I mean, yeah.
Uh,
Hope for the best, plan for the worst.
that's right. And then our final match, I assume, will be the main event of Battleground final match. We're going to talk about NXT Championship, Trick Williams defending his title versus All Ego Ethan Page. I'm going to, man, this is a tough one too. I'm going to pick Ethan Page here, but it wouldn't surprise me if Trick gets. It would be a huge win for Trick, and it would be a good way to solidify his spot as the top guy and to give him a great win on his reign. I still think Ethan Page gets the win here.
I'm actually going to say the same.
Ethan Page, All Ego
And
Ethan Page is good.
and it also makes him the number one heel on NXT because
Yes.
here's this babyface champion that the entire crowd is behind. He just became champion. Here
Yes.
comes Ethan Page from another company and just immediately takes the title off of him. His
Yeah.
first match there immediately becomes NXT champion.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the heat.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good spot for Ethan Page. I think he deserves that kind of booking. I think it's right for him. And I think it does good for Trick because I think Trick has um skyrocketed very fast to the top. And I think it will knock him down and slow him down a little bit, which I think is good for him.
Because he's not ready to go to the main roster.
No, he's not. And I'm not sure that he's ready to hold this belt yet for an indefinite amount of time. Like, I could see this being his first short reign, lose to Ethan Page, and then in 6 months or a year, and I don't even know against you or how the story plays out, him having the belt again at some point for a longer reign with it when he's a little bit, more well rounded. So I
Yeah.
could see that happening.
Because
And when he's
I
getting being
am
ready.
also on the assumption Ethan Page isn't long for NXT.
I would agree with that as well. I think he's too big for NXT myself, but
Like, honestly,
um,
3 months down the road, they could do like a ladder match for the vacant NXT title because nobody beat Ethan Page,
yeah,
and Trick wins it back there. Like,
I could see something like that. That would work out. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that. Um, so let's see. That rounds out our preview of Battleground. Please make sure and join us on Sunday, this Sunday, the 9th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the live Battleground watch along. Unless you've got anything else to say, we will get out of here because we've been talking to these people for a long time.
oh, I'm sure they enjoyed it though. This
Absolutely.
made up for not having a cookout this week.
That's true. We did not have a cookout this week. And as you can probably assume, we will not be doing a short review. We won't have the short review of Raw or NXT this week because we're doing this and had the NXT Battleground preview. So I think it was a good show. So if you're joining us, thank you. As always, hit that like, subscribe, or hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified. Please make sure and join us tomorrow night for Friday Night Fights, where they'll be watching SmackDown and Rampage. I think TNA is on the following weekend, so I
Yes.
think it's the following Friday that TNA is on. So, and then Saturday, join us for our Collision Watch Along, AEW Collision Watch Along, and then Sunday, join us for our live watch along of Battleground. You'll also get Enter the Square Circle on Sunday, so make sure and tune in for that. Myself and Sammy Joe. That will be NawT of Champions Night 1. Is that or Night 2? Which is it? Just Sunday.
It's a Night 2 Part 1.
Night 2 Part 1. All right. So make sure and check that out on Sunday as well. And until next time, peace.